that'll affect like their damage, accuracy tracking, all that stuff. There's G, which is, I guess, explode. I don't know why it's a G, but that's your missile. So only nuclear missiles or missile type or like proton torpedoes and stuff like that, that can only go in a G spot. That can't go in like the S spot, and like you can't put a laser in a G spot. Then you have your reactor types. So what you could do so as you get like better reactors, they cost more alloys, but they produce more power. So if you want to do really streamlined ships and all that stuff, you can like build like, fill up your ship and all that stuff with like its weapons and all that stuff, and then choose the reactor that barely manages to power everything so that it's as cheap as possible. You get hyperdrive, which so when a fleet goes to the edge of your like sector, they sit at there for a while as they're charging their hyperdrives. And the better your hyperdrive, the faster that charge will be, I believe. Then chemical thrusters, so that will change how fast your sublight speeds are. So how fast your ship will move in space. And I think also you can get like certain little upgrades or whatever, or like might like a highest level thruster might give like 10% evasion. And you have radar systems, which basically makes it so that, if you look at the galaxy map right now, you can see all these systems, but you can't like see what's in them. They're all like unknown to you, other than like what the star type is. So a better system, you can see at least marginally into like more systems. Or you can detect like enemy fleets. So the better your radar, the more you can do sensor range on the. And then there's combat computers, which will determine. Right now you're only basic, which will go point blank, because it's only like swarm tactics, or I think it's dependent on the type of ship. But eventually you'll get things like line computers, swarm computers, like sniper computers and all that stuff. And what it'll do, it'll keep your ship at a certain distance, which matters for your type of weapon. So like my nuclear missiles have I should say something like a range of 40. Like my missile is range of 100. My small red laser is a range of 40. So if I'm using something like a computer that puts it like at a range 100, well, these small red lasers aren't going to do much, because obviously they can't hit a range of 100. So I basically wasted my weapon slot.
You have rockets?
Yeah, missile boat. So if you click on the top, are you trying and make like another Corvette and just pretend to? And then you should see above your weapon, you should see something that says either missile boat, interceptor, or picket ship.
Oh,
you click on that, and then that determines the type of thing. Usually utility slots will be the same, but it lets you see. So weapon slots. So missile boat is 1 small and 1 G. Interceptor is 3 small. Picket ship is 1 P and 2 S. And a P is point defense. So that's like those flak cannons I mentioned. So what I generally do, I will make a missile boat, I will make an interceptor, and I will make a picket ship type corvettes. And then I will put those in my fleets, and I will make them all even, because that's just what I do in a lot of games. Even though it really hurts me, like Dark Souls, it really hurt me in that game, because you want to specifically do like a strength build or something like that, and don't want to just have all your stats like at level 30 and then like not use half of them.
Yeah.
And then you have A's. So you have utility slots, which right now it's just a reactor booster. I wouldn't put a reactor booster right now, because that's going to increase the cost by 5. And our reactor power, so you have your production, how long it takes to build, the upkeep. So each ship is going to add like 0.7 and 0.17 to the how much I have to pay every single month. Then there's a cost to build that ship. So for me, like 80 alloy. Then you have ship stats. So your power, that's how much your ship is, your like reactor you have to provide. So as long as that is above green, as long as that's a green, that's a plus, then you're golden. Then your ship will run. If it's below, then the ship, you can't even make that ship. So you have to change it. So you have to like add reactor boosters. Which reactor booster will add it like 20 power. But again, there's no reason to just add that because it's just adding costs if you don't need it.
Yeah.
Hope points, that's HP. Armor, that's an additional layer of HP above it. And then you have shields, which shields will come back, between battles and all that stuff. Armor, you have to get special upgrades to do that. And then hope points, you have to, like, repair the ship. There are certain weapons. So, like, if you look over a small red laser, it does less damage to shields, but more damage to armor. And, or like nuclear missiles will penetrate a shield. So shields do nothing against a nuclear missile. It will just go past, I can blow up a ship and the ship will have max shields on. 100% health shields, but, because my missiles went just through the shield.
Yeah.
And speed, that's how fast the ship is moving. So apparently I'm reading it now, excess power increases how fast the ship is. Put in a reactor booster. Now the ship is 168, and it's a little bit of evasionness. So I guess there is, like, points to get as more power in there. So I guess I'll do that. Evasion lets you, the chance to dodge and attack. And then the speed, how fast your stuff goes, and the damage is like a, DPS. Like, it does 7.68 per, like, I guess, a round or something? I'm not 100% sure if that's, like, per month, but that seems a little low. And then special values. So sensor range is 1, and then piracy suppression is 10. So with trade value, if you have a lot of trade value between, like, your bases and all that stuff, it'll eventually, like, start spawning pirates and all that stuff. So what you can do is you can get like a couple, like, really small fleets of corvettes and have them just patrol between, like, sectors in order to, because then they'll suppress piracy. Yeah. So, okay, so if you go down to your S on your ships, you should have nanocomposite armor or deflectors. So deflectors are your shields, and nanocomposite is your armor. So that creates armor, and that creates some shields. Okay, and then you can change your name. So on the ship, auto design takes over. I don't know.
It says I cannot change the name.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, I think it's auto-generate designs in the bottom.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we start the, like, because the game is paused, by the way, so I can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess it's good that the game is doing that. I didn't tell it to, and I couldn't turn it off, but...
Yeah.
So, yeah, generally, because the game's not going to be paused while we actually play. I mean, I can pause it if you need to, like, go to the bathroom or something, but... Or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But so, like, just make your ships and all that stuff while the game is playing, because there's like decent amount of, like, quote unquote downtime. Like, you just be like, hey, fleet, go here, and then it has to travel there.
Yeah.
Science ships do this, construction ships do that, and it'll take time. Once you go, so like manage your make new ship types once you like unlock new stuff, or like go and manage your planets in between, like, the months before you get like new things, and you can like buy more stuff. But yeah, that's basically just a ship designer, then fleet manager.
In the fleet manager.
So you can make fleets. And this is a problem, because what'll happen is, because your ships will actually, like, try and escape sometimes. Like, if you're getting, like, your fleet is destroyed, some of your ships will actually start, like, running away. And then they'll come back eventually. So if your fleet is destroyed, it'll actually start making its own fleets out of, like, a single ship, and that's really annoying. But, it's how this game plays. So you can do fleets, you can say, like, hey, this is what I want. You can specify the home base, you can specify a leader, which we'll get to leaders fairly soon. But that would be like an admiral. And then you can change your fleet stance to aggressive or no orders. So aggressive will mean that it will attack anything that's hostile automatically without you having to specifically be like, hey, go attack these people. Of course, they'll always defend themselves, so you don't have to worry about, like, a Titan or whatever just sitting there just taking hits for no reason. So you can say home base. So what you can have is, like, when you have multiple, like, shipyards and all that stuff, You can have it go back to different stations after like it gets defeated, or you send it back to be like to its main area and all that stuff. So you can basically specify where they return to. And then of course corvettes and all that stuff, you can like add more fleets, and then it'll be like 3 out of 4 because there's for my first fleet, there's 3 of these corvettes, but I want 4. So when I do that, I add the plus, then I have the option to reinforce all. So it's saying like 1 fleet needs to be reinforced with 1 ship for a cost of 100 alloys. If I add like 7 more things, then it'll be like, for 400. It says we can currently afford, so if I hit reinforce all, which I'm not going to because I'd like to make my own designs, then we're gonna, then it's only gonna take the 100 alloys and then build that 1 ship, and then the needs to be reinforced will only go down to 300 because they spent that 100, but I don't care about the first fleet. And then you hit add ship fleet to design, and then you can see all of your fleet designs from all your types of ships. So like, corvettes, destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and then I believe then Titans, Colossi, and Juggernauts, which I do not believe Titans, Colossi, or Juggernaut are in the vanilla game. Yeah. And then you can do like weird things with like you can tell a fleet to stop, you can tell them to return to their home base, and then you can take points. So that generally with like the take point things, or you can have like certain fleets follow other fleets. So what I do is like I have a fleet, like I try and get a strong first fleet, and then I'll have like a little fleet of army ships, like transport ships, following that fleet, set to follow that specific fleet. So when I go and like I take a planet, then they'll follow that fleet into that battle. They generally won't get actually attacked because, the fleets, combat ships will fight each other first before trying to destroy, like, the transport fleets. So you don't have to worry about that. And then you can have, like, the transport fleets automatically go start attacking planets if they're strong enough, if the game, their own AI decides that they're strong enough. So if they're, like, 50% stronger than, like, the garrison force, then they'll automatically invade. Yeah, Fleet Manager. Oh. Yeah.
No, just say no.
Alright, then technology, I already chose my technology things. But you have physics research, so you pick that. And you'll notice that, like, I have Natasha Zvardovskaya. She's my physics researcher, so she's a scientist leader. She has, like, specific traits, so she has a expertise computing, and they upkeep, so they have amount of money that I have to pay. They have skill levels, so she can only go up to level 5, and then she'll stop gaining, like, levels. That's her max level. And she has an age. So because we're not, like, immortal AI, our leaders can die, and then of, like, old age, as well as, getting, like, shot to death by, like, fleets and all that stuff. So you have to buy new leaders to replace them. And you're going to want to be like, oh, this is a scientist who's good for... So if you go next to their names, you'll have, like, their expertise stuff, so it tells you their traits. So, like, expertise computing, research speed. So if she's researching, like, so there's, like, subfields for each thing. So I'm doing, it doesn't tell me. Oh, no, I'm doing, like, global energy management, so I can get an energy grid, which will make it so my energy grids are, like, plus 15% more special. And if you look to the right of that, it says field manipulation. So that's the type of, like, subgenre of physics research. So if I was researching something that was, like, the subgenre of computing, then I get a plus 15% research speed because that's what my physics researcher is good at. Then you have something similar, so like Anja Sawyer, she's Spark of Genius, so she's research speed plus 10% to everything. So even though I'm doing like monthly Unity plus 2 with planetary unification, which is a statecraft subgenre, it's still it's going up by 10%, because if you can see like research progress, there's like a plus 2%, plus 12%, and plus 2% for me, because she has an increased research speed of 10%, and then something or other. Because the scientist skill level is 1, they get a plus 2% to research, just general. And then engineering, like I'm doing Corvette stuff, Corvette build speeds and costs. And that's part of Voidcraft, which is what you were trying to do in Imperium. But,
What?
Voidcraft, you're making a spaceship? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and then, so then there is factions,
The faction screen gives an
which we'll have to talk about later once they actually start showing up, but I kind of ignored it. Basically, they're like, if you look at the top, you can see, like, your demographic stuff. So I have 0% of my people are authoritarian, 65% of them are egalitarian, 0% are xenophobe, 35% are xenophile, 0% are militarist, 0% are pacifist, 0% spiritualist, and 0% materialist. So, you know, you got those exact quantities, right? So eventually, like 10 years in or something, we'll start getting factions. So you have a faction that's going to be like, you know, the like, alien friendship network or something like that. And they'll have demands and all that stuff. So what that'll do is it'll start,
I saw someone play this game before, and I saw that there's game demands and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, we want you to build, like, you know, have a fleet capacity of this much if they're, like, militarists. And if you get that, then they'll be happier. If they're happier, you get more of your influence back. So I think, so right now you have +3 influence. But once you start getting factions, then that influence is going to start splintering between percentages. And then you can be, like, you can support a faction, and you can, like, you know, be like, no, dissuade? I don't remember. Discourage? There's like an actual word for that, but, you know. Say like, hey, we don't agree with militarist population stuff and we think you're a terrible group. Which means that more, you know, there'll be populations will be, your pops will be less inclined to support those things. But of course, if they, you know, if all your pops start like supporting stat because of like events and all that stuff, then eventually you might get overthrown or something like that. You can embrace stuff, which I think is how you change your civics. Is that you're like, you know, we embrace our, you know, our spiritualist church, so now we are more spiritualist. Again, I haven't really messed that much with factions. I just be,
Yeah.
Then there's claims. Once you get near another nation, you can see like all their like systems, and then you can put claims. And if you put claims, of course, it costs influence. If you do it during war, it costs double the influence. I'm gonna lose my voice tomorrow. Jeez. I mean, because I'm pretty sure I've been talking for the last like 2 hours straight.
Yep. 108 minutes.
But it's complicated, bro. So if you make claims, that'll piss them off, though. So you don't want to make claims against like a superior nation, because then they'll be like, you know what, fuck you, and then they'll attack you. You know, they'll declare war, because that adds a cause basal or whatever, which is how you start wars. It's like, you know, oh, I want to do a war. You can like almost always do a war of humiliation, which basically gives you a whole bunch of influence and lowers the opponent's like influence gain. But of course, when you do a war, you make a treaty no matter what, pretty much. So like, you know, 10 years, oh, we won't attack each other and our borders will be open. And that's fucked with me before, because the way that I expand sometimes, I end up leaving like little holes. So it'll be like you know, like I'll have a sector here, and then I'll have like a empty sector in between the two sectors. Because like, oh, this sector is worth a lot more stuff. I'd rather use my influence for this. And then, you know, I go to war with another thing, the war's over, and then now they just start coming. All their construction ships and assigned ships just start flooding through my forced open borders. And then they just start like, it's called border gore. And it can happen, there's like a certain type of specialized nation that might be in here. That eventually, it's like a Khanate. So it's like a, you know, space, like, Wild West, basically, I guess. Or, you know, like, Mongolia, basically. You know, so Khanate, like that, Khans. And stuff, and eventually, like, they can, like, unify to become, like, a really powerful nation. And then once the main guy dies, then it'll just fracture into, like, 15 different, new nations that all start, like, fighting each other again. Okay, so then you have species, which this goes into biomechanical, like, or